Hi, my name is Oliver Quambusch. I am the founder and chief executive officer of children's charity Hotel Hope in Johannesburg, South Africa. So I was born in Germany originally. I chose hotel management initially as my career. I actually got an offer from from designers in London. I decided to settle in London just to give myself a little bit more stability. So one thing that I realized while being in London was I actually was quite lonely. I had my own recipe how to remedy loneliness was actually to party a lot, to probably drink a lot, a lot of casual sex even, just to get over the loneliness of feeling connected to someone. And I remember very well, I was on my way down to a nightclub. At some stage I said, God, I know you are there, but don't reveal yourself to me yet, because I still want to have some fun. And I remember very well, on a Sunday afternoon, I got a call from a very good friend of mine. She now lived in Singapore. She called me out of the blue on a Sunday night and said, Oliver, I've just done this course here in Singapore. It's called the Alpha Course, and I really, I was so reminded of you, and I felt that you would enjoy this course. So I said, listen, if you think this is a good course for me, let me inquire. On a Tuesday evening, I walked up to the church. And I really thought, my God, what am I doing here? There cannot be anyone who, I have anything in common with. There might be, definitely some old people in this church. There might be some, nurses and some do-gooders, but no one, who is highly successful in life. And God has a brilliant sense of humor. He put a lady on the church door. Her name is Sarah. And Sarah was the communications director for a major tea company. And Sarah greeted me. And I was amazed, actually, that someone in business, someone successful in life, would also be an active Christian or a Christian. I was fascinated. And it was really, I met one person after the other, who were so attractive in their gentleness, in their humility, in their love for Jesus, and love for people. But it took me 2 Alpha courses. So now I had committed myself to Christ, and I was in fashion, successful, but I knew, still unfulfilled. And I knew that really that couldn't be what God had in mind for me as an active Christian. I decided I would pray that God really shows me what He wants me to do and where He wants me to do it. 3.5 years later, in 2005, I sat in what was known as the Holy Spirit Chapel. And I sat in that church and I said, God, what do you want me to do and where do you want me to do it? I actually felt that God was speaking audibly to me, to the point that I looked around and said, who is here? And He said, I want you to do my work. And I said, God, what is your work? Do I have to become a priest or a monk or a pastor or a preacher? I said, what is your work? And God said, I will show you my work and you will know this is the work that I have for you. And then I didn't hear anything. But I heard about a volunteer opportunity at a small children's home in Yeoville, Johannesburg. I'd never been to Johannesburg. I arrived at that children's home and I walked up the steps to the children's home, and I really felt that God was saying, now this is what I want you to do. And I was like, here? But He made it very clear that working with orphan and abandoned children would be what he had in mind for me. And on the last day of my volunteering assignment, the pastor who had set up that children's home and 2 other ones took me out for coffee, and she said, "Man, Oliver, I see you enjoyed yourself, and the kids love you, and we really would wonder, would you like to join us in a long-term capacity?" So I flew back to London with that offer of a long-term volunteer position in Johannesburg, and I really felt that I, kind of needed prayer, whether that was the right thing for me in my mid-40s, giving up my lifestyle in London and coming out here. I remember that every prayer confirmed to me that this is the right thing to do. I resigned from my job in fashion, kind of then came to South Africa, moved into a home for missionaries. So that kind of, my need for status, was so beautifully dealt with. God kind of showed me over the next 2 years a number of areas where I felt He wanted me to get further involved. So in 2008 I founded Hotel Hope Ministries, and in 2011 we opened our first children's home in Melville. And by now we, kind of fast forward, we have 5 children's homes, we have a carpentry workshop, an upholstery workshop, we have a teenage crisis pregnancy intervention in one of the townships, and we have 3 highly successful second-hand shops. So I think the big change is really I came from complete unfulfillment and loneliness into a place of fulfillment, of joy, of purpose. I think I've really found my purpose. I was so successful before in the eyes of the world, and yet quite lonely, but no one knew that. If you ask me what is my greatest joy, my greatest joy is the fact that I adopted 2 sons. They are now 25 and 20. I adopted 2 sons, and we have a foster daughter and an 18-year-old. I have to say this is my, kind of everything that I've done, this is the thing that I'm most proud of and most delighted with. Has it been all plain sailing? Absolutely not. Because, I am a stage 4 cancer survivor, a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2011, and yet I think that God has saved us, He spared us. God actually has used in my life everything, the good, the bad, the downright ugly, in order for me to do the work that I'm doing right now. Yeah, I just give God thanks and praise and all the glory for what He has done in my life. Thank you.